Hi, this is Josh from Grapplezilla, and today we're going to talk about why you should add wrestling for self-defense. Okay, so is wrestling good for self-defense? This video is not about telling that wrestling is your only thing for self-defense, but it's about the fact that I think you should add wrestling to all your self-defense training for many reasons, a lot of attributes that add, etc. And it can really supercharge all your self-defense trainings, regardless if you're in Krav Maga, Filipino martial arts like Kali, Escrima, Greco Jujutsu even, any type of self-defense, karate, whatever you're doing for self-defense, adding some wrestling is going to definitely have benefits, and these are the reasons why. So first reason why is wrestling is all about control. Okay, so you control your opponent, you control yourself, that your opponent can't control you. So the best thing is that you control all body positions. So someone's around you, how do I get out of a bear hug? Someone's pushing me, how do I stop them pushing me? Someone's on top of me, how do I get on top? I'm on top of someone, how do I control them down? It also lets you understand how to get out of a lot of standing positions. And we'll get into how it affects self-defense. But for example, a big guy's got you in double bear hugs. Maybe you're headbutting him, it doesn't work because he doesn't feel pain or something. It's going to show you how to actually physically get out of them. Getting on top position on the ground, there's a very big emphasis that you end up getting on top. Maybe you need to pin him down for some reason, hit him, maybe police are coming, etc. And getting in a better position can always help your striking position, as well as getting, for example, from a bottom position up, which wrestling teaches you, can get you in a position that you can run should you need be, right? You don't always have to fight off. This is self-defense, right? It's not just street fighting. So sometimes you just need to run away. Second reason is Wrestling Scramble, okay, is great for self-defense. So wrestling's got this scrambling movement. So people scramble for position, or, you know, someone throws someone and instead of taking the throw, they scramble over like a cat, you know? Basically, when there's pandemonium in a fight, fights always have pandemonium, nothing goes the way you want. Knowing how to scramble when contact is made is pivotal to be able to get yourself into a position where you can defend yourself better. When you add this ability to self-defense arts, it supercharges the self-defense art. For example, let's say someone puts you into a heavy front headlock. You can't get out. You get out of it, you throw him and you start scrambling because he wants to be on top of you, you want to be on top of him. But before you even strike him or you hit him in the nuts, or her, of course, but let's say it's a him, or eye poke, it's probably better to get into a better position with your body to do that, and scrambling, get that. And scrambling, last but not least, teaches someone how to deal with the unpredictability in position, movement, and pressure within a fight. And that definitely is an attribute that is going to help your self-defense training, no problem. Now, another reason to add wrestling to your self-defense is wrestling's mentality, okay? Wrestling is always a fight. There's always a fight for control. You emotionally get used to resistance, aggressiveness, and contact, you know? A lot of self-defense arts don't even touch that. They say, okay, hit here, hit the ball, hit the eyes, the throat, and that's great. But what happens if someone grabs you and you say, oh man, what's going on? Then he hits you back like this. And all of a sudden, emotionally, you break down, right? And you say, well, I haven't been here before. With wrestling, you have been there. Okay, you've been there multiple times. So that's going to help you better get your self-defense techniques to be more effective because you won't be emotionally shocked by the heavy contact, etc. Another reason is getting used to falling and being thrown hard. And also, I mean, if you get thrown, let's say, or you slip, hitting the ground can really shock someone too. And if you haven't had that a lot, that can also be something that can deter your self-defense efforts. Getting used to heavy hand fighting is really good too. In wrestling, if hand fighting, someone grabs your arm in a Russian tie, for example. Not that that happened in self-defense, but getting out of that and learning how to control the head, and they're snapping and pulling and pushing, you're going to get used to that. And that's for sure going to help you in self-defense. And wrestling also, the aggressiveness is just second to none. You have to be aggressive in wrestling. Actually, if you're not aggressive, you get called for passivity and you could lose a point. But take that aggressiveness and now put it to a self-defense situation. okay, it's only going to help you, right? To take that killer instinct and release it out, but through physicality. Okay, another reason wrestling is great is wrestling is gross motor movement based. They have some fine motor movements, but everything's gross motor movement. It works when people are sweaty, okay? Fights produce adrenaline, and during wrestling match, you'll get used to that. Wrestling also is easier to learn and recall these gross motor techniques. And it's a case of like a scalpel versus a hammer. So in the case of the scalpel over the hammer is this. Like a scalpel would be like someone grabbing you, maybe for Philippine martial arts, you destroy their bicep, you go to finger jab, kick in the balls, maybe ear slap, hit them in the chin, hopefully break their fingers. And all that's great, but all those are kind of like fine motor movements, with your adrenaline. Maybe hitting the bicep, then you got to poke the eye, then you got to hit the throat. These are very fine motor movements. And maybe the gross motor movements of wrestling might be better, like slamming the head down, and the gross motor might be a headbutt. But all those gross motor movements are much easier to remember and to add in order to open up your positioning and self-defense situation, that you can use those fine motor movements after, right? Another thing to look at is the wrestling clinch. Knowing how to deal with heavy pressure, use of weight, distance, and body positioning are going to add a lot of great attributes for self-defense. I'm not saying the actual movements, but the attributes and weight, etc., are going to just be great, because a lot of times people practice self-defense in this like pocket. Okay, put your hand, that's it. But people don't do that. People come close, they move, they're trying to hurt you. Wrestling's going to get used to know how to clinch under, or how to deal with the clinch, right? It's also going to let you learn how to get a lot of problematic grips should any type of your striking not work. Obviously, I would estimate, like in a self-defense situation, someone grabs you or they grab your hand, you're going to slam them in the face, right? But maybe sometimes something doesn't work. Let's give a scenario. You have a huge guy and he's high on PCP. He doesn't feel anything. This guy is dead set on hurting you and your family. And he puts you in a front headlock, and you're nailing him and nothing's working. Now you got to get out of that front headlock. And wrestling's going to give you that, right? Another thing is getting used to the physicality of the clinch, of pushing the head, pushing like we talked to. After a little bit training in the clinch, and it'll happen quite quick, you'll get used to that, and it won't bother you so much emotionally as we talk. And it's really easy to add dirty boxing and things like eye pokes, knee to the groin, headbutts, opening for joint locks, finger breaks, and chokes once you know the wrestling clinch and you understand how to put the body better. It's going to be much easier. And we see that actually, I know it's not self-defense, we see it in MMA. You took a guy like John Jones, who came from a Greco background, and he added a lot of striking into his clinch, etc. The guy became very dangerous. Or with Randy Kocher in MMA. Now, yes, it's not self-defense, but it does show that how to add the dirty boxing to the clinch, which is definitely beneficial. Another reason is wrestling's physical conditioning. It's almost second to none. Boxing and Muay Thai also have great physical conditioning. Jujutsu too, but I don't think it's at the level of a wrestler or boxer. And a best world scenario obviously would be add wrestling conditioning with some type of boxing conditioning, etc. You're going to have fight fitness, and you're just not going to get tired. There's a saying, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And in a self-defense situation, your first tool other than awareness and your mind is going to be your physicality. Because if, let's say, it's not over within seconds, you might be in a situation you're going to be the fight for your life, and it could be at 30 seconds. That 30 seconds could feel like a 3-hour marathon. And that 30 seconds might be a minute or 2 minutes. And how about if you have to defend someone else as well and save their lives? Your physical fitness is going to have direct impact if you can save them or not. And wrestling will help you that, because the conditioning, and it's combat conditioning in a way, because it's always contact, moving, etc., getting up, getting down, it's going to help you. There's no doubt about that. Another reason is wrestling techniques. There are some that I think are great to add for self-defense, like working off a underhook. What to do, especially when you have an underhook or someone else has an underhook. You have to know in that whole positioning. Escaping a front headlock positioning, very important, especially when your striking isn't working. Standing takedowns, not where you go to your knee. So for example, like a double leg, but a Greco Roman double leg. You understand? Taking the back, so you get behind them if you have to. Another one, escaping pins. I'm talking about hard pins, you got to the ground, getting up very fast. And the last, which is great, is defending takedowns. Yes, you could defend with maybe poking the eye, etc. But sometimes there's a point in the takedown that you got to stop with the games of hitting poking the eyes and trying to tackle their balls. Sorry, joke. Trying to hit their balls. Because you actually have to defend. Because if you don't defend the takedown now, you're going to be taken down. And maybe this guy's big and he'll be on top of you, smashing your face on that concrete. Okay, so wrestling will give you the ability to defend them. Now, you will have to obviously adapt and throw out what you think doesn't work. But it's for sure something that you should add to your self-defense. Now, wrestling's weakness for self-defense. I would not be fair if I was talking about only the pros. Let's talk about wrestling's weakness. Okay. There's no training for the element of surprise. In self-defense, how do you train for the element of surprise? They have techniques to do it. But in wrestling, you for sure don't have it. In wrestling match or wrestling training, I know I'm going to wrestle this guy. He knows he's going to wrestle me. And we start and shake hands, hopefully, probably not, and we start wrestling. There's no striking training, okay? Both from an offensive point of view or defensive. In wrestling, you don't learn how to strike, you don't learn how to defend against a strike. And that's important for self-defense because, let's face it, most of it's going to be striking. There's a saying that all fights end up in some type of grappling, or 99% or 95% or on the ground, but all of them usually start standing up and with some type of strike. And if you don't know how to defend yourself or strike back, you're going to be in problem. Wrestling is sport orientated, it's not combat orientated, although there are combat elements to wrestling that allow the attributes to be added very easily to self-defense systems as well as mixed martial arts, and we see it. There's no defense against weapons like knives, sticks, and guns. It would be quite odd if there was, knowing it's wrestling. Also, wrestling does not have any defense against multiple attackers, although knowing how to wrestle will make it much harder for you to be taken down and much harder for them to keep you down than if you didn't know the wrestling. I'm not saying it's good against multiple attackers, but it will help you be a harder guy to get in controlling position of being down and keeping down. And also allow you to, if you get up, you can run, right? Wrestling has no submissions or teaching of how to escape. Now, wrestling does have some things like certain moves of a crossface, and there are certain things that I think naturally the wrestler would know it's a submission, but there's none, and we don't learn how to get out of submissions, etc. So that's a weakness. No teaching how to fight off your back, and this was seen in early MMA days and in MMA itself, and this is somewhere with like Gracie Jujutsu or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu would be great with, but there's none there. Dealing with clothed opponents, people have clothes. Sometimes someone has a grip on you, etc., and wrestling doesn't deal with that. Something like judo or sambo or jiu-jitsu would be better, just to at least get used to what to do. Like if someone grabs, how do I move him off, etc. And the last, and this is a very good point, and very big weakness, wrestling, they're used to wrestling on soft mats and not hard and uneven, cold, clammy surfaces like the tarmac on the road or the street or the concrete. So that's it. Now, how to add wrestling for your self-defense. I'd start with adding basic wrestling fundamentals, understand a few basic moves, you understand what to do. But even before that, I'd probably work on stuff like hand fighting, how to get in and out of good hand fighting positions, basic wrestling conditioning, like sprawl, getting back up, pushing each other, push out of the ring, etc. And then stuff like wrestling matches where 30 seconds someone has to attack. Just don't worry if you fail, just attack. If the guy sprawls on you and okay, no problem. Just learn how to attack. And the other one, maybe learn how to defend. But I think a big thing is people sometimes get apprehensive of attacking. Wrestling and constantly having those in matches is going to get you mentally used to being aggressive and attacking, and that's how you should add it. Another one could be must get the opponent's back, like hit him down on the ground, you have to get on the back, or standing up, you have to go around him, maybe with a duck under, get his back, right? Pushing out of bounds, great way to add wrestling for self-defense. And overall, just learning wrestling techniques. In closing, listen, wrestling is a great thing to add for self-defense. I wrestled since a kid. I come from my father's from an area of the world where wrestling is in the blood, I also did a lot of self-defense stuff, Jujutsu, Kali, Krav Maga, all this. And I can tell you, in my opinion, I'm not saying wrestling is the best for self-defense, but I'm saying you should be adding it to your self-defense. And these are the reasons why.